Knox didn't know what to do with me. A town's unwritten exclusion. The moment a doctor uttered the word cerebral palsy over my infant form, a subtle shift occurred. It wasn't just a medical diagnosis. It was a preemptive declaration of how the world, even a seemingly small and familiar one like the town of KNOX, would hereafter categorize me. Long before I could articulate my own needs, before I understood the nuances of normal, Knox had already decided I didn't quite fit. The schools, the very institutions meant to nurture and educate every child, were a stark testament to this oversight. They were designed for a certain kind of child, one who could disappear into the blur of a hallway sprint or conquer the dizzying heights of a jungle gym with effortless grace. But my reality was different. Learning to walk was a laborious triumph, each step a deliberate negotiation with my own body. Tying a shoelace was not a mundane task, but a meticulous exercise in patience and fine motor control, often requiring extra moments that felt like an eternity in the rushing currents of school day. This disconnect wasn't a personal failing on Knox's part. It was a systemic one. The town's infrastructure, its very fabric, seemed to have been woven with an unconscious bias, a default setting that excluded those who didn't meet a narrow, able-bodied standard. The buses, the arteries of our community, ran without the simple addition of ramps, effectively rendering them impassable for anyone with mobility challenges. The local parks, envisioned as spaces for joy and recreation, lacked the smooth, accessible paths that would allow for carefree exploration. Parks, I learned, were for the swift and the nimble, not for those who navigated the world at a different pace. Even the language used in those educational settings, in the hushed conversations of teachers discussing their students, held an invisible barrier. The word normal became a constant, subtle reminder. It was a code word, a secret handshake that everyone else seemed to possess, a descriptor for a collective that I, by definition, was not a part of. It wasn't a malicious intent, perhaps, but a pervasive lack of awareness, a failure to consider that normal could and should encompass a spectrum of abilities and experiences. This experience in KNOX isn't unique to me or to this particular town. It's a reflection of a larger societal narrative that, for too long, has viewed disability not as an inherent part of human diversity, but as an anomaly to be accommodated, or worse, overlooked altogether. It's a narrative that builds systems based on an imagined, homogeneous population, leaving those who fall outside that mold to navigate a world not built for them. The label of cerebral palsy, applied at 3 months old, was the first sign that my journey would be one of conscious effort to find my place. KNOX, in its well-intentioned but ultimately exclusionary way, taught me that lesson early. It demonstrated that sometimes the most profound barriers are not physical walls, but the unacknowledged assumptions and the ingrained exclusions that shape our environment and our understanding of who belongs. The challenge for KNOX and for countless other communities is to move beyond not knowing what to do with people like me, and instead to actively build a world where everyone is inherently part of the plan. The gift of chosen love, finding roots in faith, not blood. There are some stories that begin not with a whimper, but with a whisper of hope. Mine is one of them. I don't know the names or faces of my birth parents. The origins of my life are a blank page, a mystery veiled in time. Yet, into this unknown, a Catholic adoption agency placed me, a tiny seed entrusted to a couple who nurture me not just with everyday care, but with the enduring light of their shared faith. And in their love, in their unwavering belief, I found the roots I never knew I lacked. Some days, the sheer randomness of it all, the swirl of chance and choice that shaped my beginnings, still catches me by surprise. Yes, there's a void, a space where a name or a face might belong. But the home I landed in, the haven these two souls created, filled that absence not with longing, but with a profound sense of certainty. My parents were quiet, steady presences, the kind of people whose strength was an unspoken promise, a bedrock I could always lean on. And their faith wasn't a Sunday-only accessory. It was woven into the very fabric of our existence. From a murmured grace before meals to the quiet acts of kindness that punctuated our days, their belief was a constant, warm hum. Perhaps I will never unravel the narrative that preceded mine. I've cautiously probed, inquired about the past, even glimpsed at old records. But the annals of origin are often meticulously guarded secrets. What remains indelibly etched in my memory, however, are the tangible expressions of my parents' love and faith. I recall my mother's gentle touch, daubing holy water onto my forehead, a silent blessing. I see my father, his knees creaking slightly, kneeling beside me in the cool, hallowed air of the old church pew. Belief, for them, was not merely an abstract concept to be discussed. It was a living, breathing entity demonstrated through their actions, their patience, their unwavering moral compass. Trust, the bedrock of any lasting relationship, grew organically from their consistency, from the comforting rhythm of small rituals and the gentle guidance of their corrections. Love, in its purest, most unconditional form, was their most profound and eloquent language. The world often speaks of identity, of the importance of lineage, of finding one's roots. For me, what has truly defined me, what has anchored me, has been the steadfast faith that carried us through the inevitable challenges of life. It has been the ordinary, yet extraordinary magic of being chosen, not by blood, not by a preordained destiny written in genetics, but by the conscious, hopeful conviction of two hearts. In places where others might dwell on what is missing, on the unanswered questions, I find myself gazing at what is undeniably present. This profound sense of belonging, this gift of chosen love, is, I believe, its own quiet, luminous miracle. The unwavering compass. How faith and persistence forged my path. Looking back, the landscape of my childhood is painted with a distinct hue, the sterile white of doctors' offices, the hushed anticipation of waiting rooms, and the earnest deliberations of medical specialists. From the tender ages of 13 to 16, my life was a rhythmic cycle of appointments, consultations, and the quiet hum of hospital machinery. This period, often a turbulent sea for any teenager, was for me a journey through a series of surgeries, each meticulously planned with a singular goal: to help me walk with more ease, to straighten my knees, and to bring my heels closer to their natural alignment. It was an immense undertaking. For a young person, a stretch of time that demanded resilience and understanding. Yet, amidst the physical challenges and emotional toll, one constant anchor remained: the unwavering faith and steady determination of my adoptive parents. It was their persistence, their refusal to yield, that fundamentally changed everything for me. The practicalities of my medical journey were undeniably demanding. There were days filled with discomfort, periods of recovery that tested my patience, and the constant, underlying uncertainty that accompanies significant medical interventions. For a 13-year-old, the prospect of multiple surgeries could have easily morphed into a suffocating burden, a source of profound anxiety. But my parents, with a grace that still amazes me, shielded me from the brunt of that fear. They translated complex medical jargon into understandable terms, managed the logistical nightmares of scheduling and transportation, and, most importantly, infused every step of the way with an unshakable optimism. Their faith wasn't a passive hope. It was an active force. It was in the way they approached each doctor's visit not as a defeat, but as a step forward. It was in the quiet prayers they offered, not for miraculous cures, but for strength, for wisdom for the medical teams, and for my own enduring spirit. They believed in the inherent goodness of the process, in the dedication of the professionals involved, and, above all, in my own capacity to heal and adapt. This faith acted as a protective shield, deflecting the potential despair that could have so easily taken root. Equally vital was their steady determination. There were undoubtedly moments when the path forward seemed arduous, when progress was slow, or when setbacks occurred. During those times, it would have been understandable for doubt to creep in, for the sheer exhaustion of it all to become overwhelming. But my parents never faltered. They met each challenge head-on, not with resignation, but with renewed resolve. Their determination wasn't about stubbornness. It was about a deep-seated commitment to my well-being, a refusal to accept limitations as final. They were my unwavering advocates, my fierce protectors, and the driving force behind my continued efforts. For a child navigating such a significant physical and emotional landscape, the presence of a stable, hopeful support system is paramount. My adoptive parents provided that and so much more. They didn't just endure the difficulties, they actively shaped my experience of them. They transformed what could have been a period of isolation and fear into a testament to their love and commitment. They taught me, through their actions more than their words, the power of resilience, the importance of perseverance, and the profound impact of unshakable faith. Today, as I look back at those formative years, the memories are not of hardship, but of profound gratitude. The ease in my stride, the alignment of my knees, the comfort in my heels. These are not just physical achievements, but tangible symbols of my parents' enduring love and dedication. Their faith and steady determination didn't just help me overcome medical challenges. They laid the foundation for a life built on hope, perseverance, and the unwavering belief that even the most daunting obstacles can be navigated with the right guidance and an abundance of love. They didn't just give me a better walk, they gave me a better way of living, and for that, I will forever be indebted. The weight of words when whispers become chains. There are moments in life that etch themselves into our memory, not with dramatic fanfare, but with the quiet, insidious power of spoken words. For the narrator in this poignant account, such a moment occurred in the sterile environment of a school cafeteria, a setting that should have been a refuge, but instead became a stage for a profound wounding. I wish I could say that I brushed it off, that his words slid right past me, the narrator confesses. This initial desire to possess a resilience that feels just out of reach underscores a deeper truth. The words, for all their casual delivery, did not just land. They stuck. They took root in an already fertile ground of insecurity, a struggle that had been ongoing for months. The feeling of floating through days with my head down and my stomach tight paints a vivid picture of prolonged anxiety, a constant internal hum of unease. The hope that high school would offer a fresh start, a chance to shed the baggage of the past and become somebody new, is a universal yearning. Yet, for this narrator, the transition brought only a familiar, invisible weight. The mention of St. Gertrude's, presumably a previous school or a representation of its perceived judgment, suggests the persistent shadow of past experiences, a haunting reminder that escaping oneself is rarely as simple as changing locations. The specific trigger in the cafeteria, a teacher's dismissive words, amplified the internal turmoil. Staring at the chipped edges of the tray, a small, tangible detail becomes a focal point for the narrator's fractured state. It wasn't just the content of the words, but their apparent ease of delivery that struck so deeply. The implication that the narrator's departure would be a mere act of housekeeping, devoid of genuine consequence, was a brutal dismissal of their presence and their worth. The physical manifestations of this emotional pain are palpable. My ears burned. The hallway, a space of transit, becomes a pressure cooker of internalized words. The teacher's casual suggestion, just take what I'd learned and leave, morphs into an order, a command that resonates with the narrator's deepest fears about belonging. And then, the devastating realization. That afternoon, for the first time, I really wondered if everyone would be better off if I just disappeared. This is the chilling nadir, the point where the weight of the words, the perceived indifference of others, and the crushing burden of self-doubt converge to cast a terrifying shadow of suicidal ideation. It is a stark and heartbreaking testament to the profound impact that casual cruelty, particularly from figures of authority, can have on a vulnerable young mind. This narrative serves as a potent reminder of the power of our words. Words spoken in haste or with a lack of empathy can become invisible chains, binding individuals to their insecurities and despair. It highlights the critical importance of fostering environments where individuals feel seen, valued, and heard, especially during the formative and often tumultuous years of adolescence. The desire to brush things off is a luxury not all can afford when the very foundations of self-worth are being eroded, one carelessly spoken word at a time. ODSP, a lifeline for medical needs and monthly income in Ontario. For many individuals in Ontario, the Ontario Disability Support Program, ODSP, serves as a critical source of both monthly income and crucial support for medical expenses. Navigating the complexities of a disability can be challenging enough, and knowing that a program exists to provide a financial safety net and help manage healthcare costs can be a profound relief. Drug Benefit Program. Many individuals on ODSP are automatically eligible for the Ontario Public Drug Program. This means that essential prescription medications, often vital for managing chronic conditions or disabilities, are covered. This can significantly alleviate the financial burden of purchasing these costly drugs on a regular basis. Dental, vision, and hearing services. ODSP also provides coverage for essential dental, vision, and hearing care that may not be fully covered by other plans. This can include routine checkups, necessary treatments, and assistance with the cost of glasses or hearing aids, all of which are fundamental to overall health and well-being. Diabetic supplies. For individuals living with diabetes, the cost of essential supplies like testing strips, lancets, and insulin can be substantial. ODSP often provides coverage for these items, ensuring that individuals can effectively manage their condition without undue financial stress. Medical transportation. In situations where a disability makes travel to medical appointments difficult or impossible, ODSP may offer assistance with medical transportation costs. This ensures that individuals can access the healthcare services they need, regardless of their mobility challenges. Other health-related benefits. Depending on individual needs and circumstances, ODSP may also provide coverage for other health-related items and services, such as medical equipment, supplies, and assistive devices. A comprehensive support system. The combination of monthly income and medical cost assistance makes ODSP a vital support system for Ontarians living with disabilities. It acknowledges that disability often comes with increased expenses and aims to mitigate those burdens to allow individuals to live with greater dignity and independence. For recipients, understanding the full scope of benefits available through ODSP is crucial. Regularly reviewing program guidelines and consulting with ODSP caseworkers can help ensure that all eligible medical costs are being addressed and that individuals are maximizing the support offered by the program. In essence, ODSP provides a much-needed foundation of financial security and alleviates the worry associated with ongoing medical expenses for numerous Ontarians, empowering them to focus on their health and quality of life. There was a time when the rhythm of my life was dictated by the clang of a doorbell, the grit of construction dust between my teeth, and the quiet satisfaction of breathing life back into neglected spaces. I saw these as mere stepping stones, necessary but ultimately unremarkable phases of survival. Each job, from peddling wares door to door to sweeping floors on bustling construction sites, felt like a temporary measure, a means to an end. I believed I was simply getting by, navigating the often uncertain waters of earning a living. Preparation? That was a distant concept, something for those with clearer, more linear career paths. Looking back, however, the narrative has shifted dramatically. Those years, once perceived as a collection of scattered, even random, endeavors, now reveal themselves as the bedrock upon which It's a strange irony that with my increasing involvement in ministry, particularly amongst those on the fringes of society in Durham region and the Greater Toronto area, the significance of those seemingly disparate jobs has become undeniably clear. The people I now serve, those who often feel overlooked and undervalued, resonate deeply with past versions of myself. My ability to connect with them, to understand their struggles without judgment, and to approach their challenges with a blend of practical empathy and enduring hope wasn't plucked from thin air. It was forged in the crucible of those years spent outside the conventional. Consider the door-to-door sales. It wasn't about the product. It was about learning to face rejection with resilience, to listen more than I spoke, and to discern genuine need from polite dismissal. It taught me patience and the art of building rapport, even with closed doors. Then there were the construction sites. Sweeping up dust might seem menial, but it was a lesson in the unglamorous realities of and the act of reviving neglected spaces. This was perhaps the most profound training ground. It involved seeing potential where others saw decay, recognizing value in the discarded, and investing time and energy into something that others had written off. It was about perseverance, about the quiet belief that even the most worn-out things, and indeed people, can be revitalized with care and attention. This mirrors the very heart of ministry, seeing the inherent worth in every individual and working to help them flourish. What I perceived as aimless stops, moments of simply trying to make ends meet, were in retrospect crucial waypoints. They weren't detours from a main road. They were the road itself. Each experience, no matter how humble or challenging, chipped away at superficial assumptions and built a deeper understanding of human resilience, vulnerability, and the quiet dignity that exists even in hardship. Now, as I find myself immersed in the work of ministry, connecting with individuals and communities in Durham region and the GTA who are navigating their own challenges, it feels profoundly right. The skills I honed in those odd jobs, empathy, resilience, perseverance, the ability to see potential, and a deep respect for all forms of labor, are not just useful, they are essential. They have equipped me to engage authentically, to offer practical support, and to stand alongside those who might otherwise feel unseen. The path I once thought was about surviving has revealed itself as preparation for a life of purpose. Those seemingly scattered stops weren't random at all. They were the carefully laid groundwork, building the foundation for a calling that feels genuine, deeply needed, and at long last like coming home. I used to think I was just doing odd jobs to get by. Selling door to door, sweeping up dust at construction sites, trying to breathe new life into places most people had given up on. It all seemed like survival, not preparation. Looking back, though, I see those years carved out something important to me. Each disappointment, each unexpected hurdle, added a layer I didn't know I needed. Now, as I find myself drawn into ministry, especially alongside people on the edges in Durham region and the GTA, it's clear those scattered jobs weren't random. They were groundwork. What looked like aimless stops along the way turned out to be the path, leading me straight to work that feels genuine and needed at last. The hum of daily life in Durham region and the Greater Toronto area often masks a quieter reality. Amidst the bustling streets and thriving communities, there exist individuals and pockets of struggle that can easily go unnoticed, slipping through the cracks of our collective awareness. For a long time, my own journey felt like a series of disconnected whispers, a scramble for survival punctuated by an array of odd jobs that seemed to led nowhere in particular. Yet, looking back, those seemingly random experiences weren't a misspent youth. They were the essential, unacknowledged preparation for the calling I now embrace. What once felt like a chaotic and uncertain path, a meandering string of unrelated stops, now reveals itself as a meticulously laid foundation. Every detour, every dead end, every disappointment was not a failure, but a crucial lesson. In those challenging moments, I learned the profound weight of vulnerability, the unwavering necessity of perseverance, and the irreplaceable value of genuine human connection. Years spent knocking on doors in unfamiliar neighborhoods, often met with hesitant glances or closed doors, taught me more than any textbook ever could. I learned to approach people where they were, to extend a hand without judgment, and to truly listen to stories of struggle that painted a starkly different picture than my own lived experience. The physical and mental grit demanded by those hard, tiring jobs didn't just toughen my resolve. They instilled in me a dedication to stick with those society often overlooks, a belief that persistent effort can indeed bring about change, even in the most challenging circumstances. There's a unique awakening that occurs when you begin to see the potential in places and people others have long since bypassed. Reviving forgotten corners, whether it was a rundown property or a neglected garden bed, ignited something within me, a fierce determination to recognize inherent value where no one else was looking. And, more importantly, a desire to help others discover that same intrinsic worth within themselves. The sweat dripped, the setbacks mounted, and the small victories were often hard-won. But these weren't detours from my intended path. They were, in fact, the very bedrock upon which my current work is built. Today, I feel a profound sense of purpose, a conviction that the work I do is both honest and urgently needed. The hard-won lessons forged in the crucible of scrambling to navigate each day, with all its inherent messiness and uncertainty, have guided me to this very moment. I find myself standing alongside those who are grappling with life's most profound challenges, privileged to listen, to offer support in whatever capacity I can, and to contribute to the slow, steady, and vital process of building a gentler, more caring community. It's a commitment to nurturing connection, one story, one relationship, one act of simple, unwavering presence at a time.